All right, here we go. Episode of Hedgehog Watchdog. No Devin Saxon tonight. He's the one that usually comes up with our fancy intro videos. So unfortunately, no intro video tonight, and I'm flying solo. But tonight we're starting something we're calling our summer candidate series. We're gonna try to interview every libertarian running for office this summer. But we're going to start with our guest tonight, Randy Uriah Luallin. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Greg. It's always a pleasure to be on the show with you.
And we wanted to start with you because your election.
The libertarian.
Oops, sorry about that. I cut you off. It cut out there for a second.
No, go ahead.
All right, sorry about that. Got a little delay, but no, we just wanted to start with you because your election is actually coming up very soon, next month. You are a former U.S. House candidate, 2020 U.S. House candidate. I'll brag about you for a second there. You ran in a two-way race with Dusty Johnson, or against Dusty Johnson. The Democrats didn't put up a candidate that year. You got about over 79,000 votes, which I'm not sure if that's a libertarian record, but it's got to be pretty darn close. You won two counties outright, so you beat Dusty in two counties, so that was great news. So we appreciated you stepping into that role and filling that void. But now you've moved on to. You were running for the mayor of Hot Springs, where you live. You've lived there, it said, for about 7 years now. Why don't you tell us about what made you want to run for mayor?
Well, that's a very good question, and I've had to reflect. But here's the bottom line: I felt like after the House of Representatives race, that's pretty was much the end of it for me. I'd probably more on the supportive of other candidates than I enjoyed that race a lot because South Dakota only has one representative, and so my wife and I toured the entire state with a camper, and we had a banner, and we went in parades, and we met with various newspapers and radio stations, and it was a blast, and I got to see the whole state. I didn't really know my home state completely. I'm a West River man.
Yeah.
So I got to go East River, and we had a good time with that. We called it the Liberty Tour, and we felt like it was a huge success, and I pretty much thought I was done with it. However, locally here in Hot Springs, well, you know what they say. There's no such thing as good government.
Yeah.
There's because nobody wants to be governed. Let's just face it. But there is proper government, and proper government is you stay within the guidelines set by the state constitution, state statutes, city ordinances, all of those things. And what we don't have here in Hot Springs is proper government, and I see it all the time. I experience it. It's probably not atypical, but it's almost outlandish. The things that go on, and government should not be that difficult. I
mean, they make it complicated. Yeah,
they make it complicated, and they also by sidestepping the law or whatever, and we can talk about all that. I'm happy to talk about it because the incumbent, Bob Nelson, he's been in office, he's been on the city council for a long time, but he's been around, and in a town of this size, you're probably familiar with the term the old boy system, good old boy system, and maybe the good girl system. I don't know.
Equality, it's 2022.
Exactly. You got the good person system. But it's basically typically populated by people that The families have been here for a long time, and they've got a way of doing things, and they think that just because they've done it that way, well, that's the right way to do it. We also have a tremendous apathy here. Uh, and that apathy encourages these people to do things that probably are unstatutory, if you will, with beyond their realm. They exceed their authority. They operate out of the realm of where they're supposed to be, and and it's so apathetic that in many cases for city council, well, most seats and the mayor included run unopposed, and some of them there's no candidate at all. They actually have to appoint a city council person, and that's very sad. And when people do, there is a race, and if they run unopposed, people don't vote. They just say, "Ah, why vote? I mean, there's
Yeah.
only one candidate." And but when even when there's such a low voter turnout that the winner usually wins by just a nominal amount of votes. And,
So just a couple quick facts about Hot Springs because I'm a East River guy, so I'm a little ignorant about Hot Springs. I think I went there once as a kid, but I haven't actually been back as an adult because it's like when we go to Rapid or the Hills, Hot Springs is what, how long? About an hour and a half from say Rapid City, or
no, it's 50 miles.
oh,
So it's
that's it.
an hour, less than an hour.
Hmm.
Uh, we are we're on the southern Black Hills, which is they say is less visited. Most of the tourist sites are in the north,
Yeah.
and we say we're the bastard child of the Black Hills. But we actually have as much or more to offer than the northern Black Hills. People
I
just
didn't
don't.
know it was. Yeah, I didn't know it was only 50 miles. I thought it was farther than that.
Yeah.
So like, what is Hot Springs? What's like the voter turnout in typical? Do you know off the top of your head for like say the mayor, city council? How many votes do you need to become the next mayor of Hot Springs?
I'm sure it's below 500. It's probably far
Yeah,
below that. Given any city, there's only 3,500 people in total in town. So if you s- to so you subtract the children, um, people that aren't registered, and what have you, you're looking at half that maybe. And of that half, how many vote? Maybe half of that.
yeah.
So
Well, it seems pretty typical statewide. It's not just a Hot Springs problem. Recently, there was supposed to be a school board election in Sioux Falls, and there was nobody to run. There were no elections to be had. I'm sure the incumbents were running unopposed, but they canceled the election, and that's the biggest city in South Dakota,
right,
and
right,
you're not even having a school board election. But I've seen it. We've seen it at the legislative level a lot. I can't remember how many seats. It's like 30 plus legislative seats are going to be running unopposed. And us libertarians, we try to fill some of those gaps if we can, but
yeah,
there are not very many of us. So I definitely want to say I appreciate you running last time and even running for mayor because I think it's important to have a second voice. You can't just let people continue, even whether they're good people or not. I mean, you they have to be challenged. They shouldn't just be
sure,
given a seat. But on the other hand, it's like voters should be more engaged. People should be more engaged. Uh, it shouldn't, people should want to run, more than they do. But yeah, I appreciate you running.
yeah. It's we talked about the run for the house, and I got what's interesting, and I don't know how to explain this, but I won a couple counties, and I don't know if I even went to those counties.
They just
Uh,
hate Republicans there. They really do.
yeah, that must be. Uh,
Yeah.
but where we did go, I was often invited interviewed by the paper or the radio station, and they made effort. In my own county, they never printed anything about me, not one.
Really.
And here I was from their county, and nothing. Nothing at all. Not a questionnaire, not even a blip, nothing. And I did worse in my own county than any other county in the state.
Yeah, they probably didn't. Well, I mean, had they actually covered you, yeah, you might have gotten more of them votes. I mean, the hometown boy. I mean, who doesn't want, their congressman to be their neighbor? I mean, really.
Yeah, yeah, no, and so I can't explain that, but it's more this, it's this pervasive attitude and situation. So anyway, I decided there's been a couple of incidents that have happened in town that I felt really strongly about, and with a little bit of investigation, it revealed that the city was violating their own city ordinances. They were violating the state statutes. We're a statutory city. We're not a home rule city, and the question is, does anybody know this? I mean, why is this happening? And I thought, if nothing else, I can at least put that out for the public to see, and they can get an understanding maybe of what and why things are happening. Now, I use Facebook and the local chat room and discussion room, and it's surprising how reactive, and I'm hoping it's not the majority. We always say the worst thing about democracy is being the minority, because I mean, with that 151 extra vote, you and what, no matter how large your group is, can be left out, and
Yeah.
and everybody needs a place at the table, and so it just surprises me the vehement comments and attitudes towards me and what I've said, even though they are actually the truth. And so I made up some signs, and my motto is "Truth for a Change."
Truth for change.
Truth for a change, or truth for a change, whichever way you want to say it. I like it,
Yeah.
and I think, and the whole point is, maybe it's time that we ought to, have a little few facts out there, so because it's flagrant. I mean, the paper quotes the mayor, the city council individuals, and what they say, and it's not the truth. There's no what do they call that in journalism?
Integrity.
Well, I think the paper has integrity. There's no
Investigation or
there's no investigative reporting. That's what I'm looking for. And so if you just print things, truth, though they not be the truth, well, people read that in the paper and they think it's the truth,
Mhm.
and so that's problematic in and of itself. So yeah, I felt like I needed to do it, and I've actually had people come forward and donate for the signs, and I'm going to have a meet and greet at the American Legion,
Nice.
and which the incumbent whom I'm running against, it doesn't seem to be campaigning at all. No signs, nothing. Uh, I don't see anything on Facebook. I don't see anything on internet. Certainly nothing in the paper. The paper did do a thing on each one of us. I think they were just glad to see someone other than uh, a single person
So,
run for the office.
well, yeah, something to cover. I mean, honestly, it's like
You know,
if the guy's used to running unopposed, now you at least got something to cover.
and I think Bob ran unopposed in his first term, and so
So since you're running against an incumbent, I was going to ask, and you kind of alluded to maybe some of these things, but if what's something that he's done recently that you didn't agree with, or maybe what you would have done differently uh, on any topic, just maybe something like you said that you've noticed that they didn't that the town didn't handle right, or in your
Sure.
opinion? Or
I have a whole list, but let's
I know you want to. Yeah, I know you want to get to a movie with your
go.
wife on Mother's Day. So
Happy. I'm happy. Maybe somebody's watching. Probably the most flagrant is in this town. We are under the mayor alderman system, and as per state statute, but they have hired an individual at I think it's somewhere around $60,000 a year, and uh, they call him a city administrator instead of a city manager. Now, to have a city manager under the state statutes, the people have to decide that. There has to be a petition put forth, and this people have to vote whether they want to go to that system. It's a totally different system than the mayor alderman system. And the city manager system, the city manager has complete control. The mayor just becomes a figurehead. And but what we have here is basically they've hired a city manager. In his job description, it uses the word manage no less than 12 times. There's nothing in the state statutes about hiring a city administrator, but when you ask the city, the mayor, I said, how can you hire this individual? He's against state statute. He says, well, he's not a city manager; he's a city administrator. Well, if you look it up, that's a synonym,
mm,
and it, it it's really sad that they think that they're bypassing the law by using a synonym, when in fact he's doing the very job the city manager's doing, they're supposed to do. And so it's flagrant. And it, okay, so here's the point: am I against the city manager? No. What I think,
but didn't you say it would be voted on by the people?
yeah, it
Yeah,
was never voted on by the people, and we need to make that right. If we're going to have a city manager, it needs to be voted on by the people. It needs to be their choice, not some mayor going, oh, okay, I'm going to hire this guy and pay him 60 grand, and I'm going to sit back here in the office and just and he's my gopher, right?
yeah,
That's really what it is, and he can blame everything on the city manager and look good.
yeah.
Uh, that needs to be made right. And the only way it can be made right is put it to a vote of the people. And the mayor is the executive branch. They execute the will of the people as put forth by the people themselves or by the representatives. But what we have in this city is a mayor making decisions regarding policy, or not making any policy, and just doing things based on what he likes or who he likes, he doesn't like. We'll do this for this person, but not for this person. It's not equal treatment under the law. It's 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 improper government, and and it's happening. It happens over and over. Probably the most recent one, the most troubling, other than the city manager thing. Well, there's a couple that are really troubling, but this one, the city recently, we have a river called Fall River goes through town, and it flooded often uh, up until the Corps of Engineers put in two dams, and and there's also been some large levee walls built, but uh, it's all a spring-fed river. It runs the same year round. It does, unless there's a massive rainstorm, which is blocked now by the dams. It runs the same, and it's a warm river, and it has built up an ecosystem all of its own. And in that part of that ecosystem has been a large number of cattails, which is uh, indicative of the large amount of fertilizer we put on our lawns, because cattails fix phosphates and nitrates. And so you get a lot of fertilizer, you're going to get a lot of cattails. Some people didn't like it. Some people do, but but it was an abundant wildlife corridor. We've got deer, we've got soft-shelled turtles, which are rare in this state. We've got these snails that are quite rare, and it's just a beautiful ecosystem. Well, the mayor decided he was going to change that, and they bulldozed it. They scraped it clean down to the rock, uh, despite the city's ordinance, which says you're not supposed to remove any wetland, and it violates the Clean Water Act, the EPA, and even the Corps of Engineers. And despite all that, he says, well, the way he gets around it, once again, semantics. He says, well, it's not a wetland, it's a canal zone. And I'm thinking, okay, well, cattails don't grow in dry land.
Well, and it only became a canal zone because you've now walled it off and made it more of a canal than an
Right, right.
actual. Yeah,
And it is, but it's both. That river has been there a long time. I mean, we have River Street. Are we going to call it Canal Zone Street? I mean, no, it's a river, and it is a canal zone, but it needs to be treated with respect. And this was a knee jerk reaction that violated their own city ordinances. And the city ordinance says if you're going to change the stream and the stream bed in any form or fashion, it says do not remove any wetlands. And it says if you're going to do that, you notified all communities downstream, and you notify the Department of Natural Resources so they can do a survey. They didn't do that, and
well, those rules are just for you, though, not for them.
well, see, that's the point. See, if proper government, the government has got to abide by the rules it gives for the people. I mean, the list goes on and on. They tore down a beautiful old stone building here in town, and they brought in an engineer, paid him $1,500. He walked in and out of the building, said imminent danger of falling down, and they condemned it. And we've got a group here in town that wants to save our old stone structures. And we said, well, we'd like to bring in another engineer to get a second opinion. He wasn't allowed in the building. And at great cost to the city, they tore that building down. And they'll never recoup that cost. Not only that, but the land that it was on is still owned by those people that own the building. And they're using it without permission and without paying rent to that.
Yeah.
I find this very troubling, and so I'm not out to change the flavor of the town. I'm out to make things right and to conduct things within the realm of government that we have by state statute and by our own ordinances.
Well, so I guess my question, one of my other questions, because I'm not exactly sure what, when it comes to local authority, I'm not 100% on the rules, whatnot, but or what the authority a mayor has. But so if you were elected, though, what's a couple things you would like to do as mayor, or what could you do?
Of course. Well, first of all, I introduced to the council, and I said, look, we've got an individual that's just basically fulfilling the role of city manager. I said, we need to get the vote of the people to make that right. And if the people don't want it, well, then we need to discontinue. And that would be one of the first things I would do. The other thing, I would stop this rampant destruction of the river, and abide by the Clean Water Act and by the Natural Wildlife. To the management department of the state. Bring them in and do an evaluation. And what they did down there, they basically denuded the area of everything: soil, plants, animals, everything. And it looks horrible. But some people go, "Oh, this is great." Of course, you're always going to have dissent. But I guess in this election, I'm going to find out who the minority is.
Yeah, do people like it or don't they? So,
Exactly.
When is the election? Is June 7th like the primary, or?
Yeah, just right at the primary. Yes.
June 7th. All right. Well, another thing people probably don't know about you, but I always find interesting is you're actually an author, and you've been a busy person. For 64 years old, I mean, you're busier than I am. You recently held a book signing event for your third book in a series. Just real quick, tell us about the book and where people can find that if they want to
Okay, sure.
check it out.
That book it's a science fiction apocalyptic event, and basically it. I started writing this book when I was hopelessly lost, backpacking on the island of Dominica.
Where's that at?
That's in the Caribbean.
Oh,
And Maroons are the people that they were the escaped slaves that went into the interior of the island, and they never could find them. And they started little civilizations of their own, and they were called Maroons. And I learned that when I was there, and then I got lost myself in the interior of this island, and so along with the history, I'm a great history buff. It all came to I got like a download when I was lost, and I started writing this book. I wrote the first one. It took me about 5 years to write because I was at family working. I was talking to a tape recorder and having it, but that was around for a long time. And then I wrote the second one. Oh, I don't know, 6 years ago. The first one was around the turn of the century, so it involves a lot of what was the events that were happening then. Anyway,
2000. Yeah.
it's my idea of when world as we know it ends, and there's a few remaining people left, and there's not that many. How would you rebuild society? I mean, think about that for a moment.
Yeah.
You had that opportunity, and so the first book starts off on the island of Dominica, and they end up in Kansas of all places. And the second book brings in another character who has survived, and he's traveling with his son, that he's saved, and looking for a mate for his son. I mean, they can't find anybody, and so their experiences, and it's called The Journey. And the third one is there's several groups that now are very aware of each other and what's going on, and there's even another whole dimension that brought in. And it's hard to explain it, but you're gonna love this. But people love it.
No, it sounds great. I actually love like post-apocalyptic movies, stuff like that. I mean, sounds interesting.
Oh yeah, people that read it, they go, I can't put this book down. I had some people last night at the Legion say, when is book 4 coming out? And I haven't even thought about book 4.
Well, I tell you what you need to do. You need to sell that to Netflix so that we can get the TV series going.
I think it would be a great TV series or a movie. It's called Maroons. It's the series is Maroons. You can buy it on Amazon, and leave me a good review if you read it. And starts out with Maroons, a human epic. The second book is Maroons, the Journey, and the third one is Maroons, Miscegenation.
What's miscegenation mean?
Miscegenation means mixing of the races, and but I broke it in half, so it's miscegenation. and basically, there's no choice at this point. There's so few people left, so the races have to get together. But there's there's a whole new group of people that have evolved from this apocalyptic event.
Yeah,
and you're gonna love it.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. I keep you need to get a book on tape. You know what? Because I suck at reading, and that's my problem. It takes me so dang long to read a book, but it does sound really interesting.
Well, I'm trying to do it on tape. I'm trying to get someone who will read the book and put it on tape, and I haven't been successful in doing that yet.
You got a pretty good voice. You know, you could narrate it by the author.
Yeah, I guess I could. I guess when I'm done with the mayor race.
Yeah. If you're not the mayor of Hot Springs, which I wish you luck. We hope that you do become the mayor of Hot Springs. That'll become the new libertarian paradise. We'll have to have next year's convention in Hot Springs then too.
And it'll be a great place to have the convention. We got the Hot Springs here, and there's a lot to do around here.
Yeah, and I need to get back out there. Like I said, I haven't been out there since I was a kid, but definitely.
My house, Greg.
Yeah, I definitely need to get out there. All right. Well, I heard you wanted to get to a movie, so I won't keep you. You do have a website that people can learn about you, though, right?
Yes, it's called randyluallin.com. And it has a lot of my stuff from when I ran for House. It's got my book on there, and it's got my business as well.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on. It was good to have you as always. I enjoyed talking to you, and we definitely hope that you have a really strong showing. And I'd love to see you as mayor. Good luck in your race next month.
We shall see. What the people will hopefully decide.
Well, hopefully they decide the right thing because they don't always decide the right. We
talked about that already.
Yeah, they don't always decide the right thing, and what we're telling you, the right thing is.
Well, I mean, and I think, like I said, the mayor's job shouldn't be that hard. It really shouldn't. They just have to execute the will of the people, and we need good council people too, and they're the ones that determine what that policy and that will be.
Well, it sounds good. Like I said, good luck in your race. Enjoy your movie tonight, and you guys have fun.
All right. Thank you so much, Greg.
Thanks for coming on.
All right.
Bye.